Hey, I'm Jaimie.
And I'm Jay.
And today we're going to show you how we made this awesome wine box for our 5th wedding anniversary.
So why a wine box?
When we got married, we had a wine box ceremony as part of our wedding. It's a modern ritual where you seal up a bottle of wine and love letters to each other and then open it up on your 5th wedding anniversary.
It was a lot of fun. We read the letters, drank the wine, and we decided that it would be fun to do it again, but this time we're going to build a new box and do it together. Our design for our wine box is a riff off of one of the designs in this book, 52 Boxes in 52 Weeks by Matt Kenney. This is an awesome book if you like building boxes. I highly recommend it. A lot of the techniques and the stuff we're going to try for this are based off of things in this book. Check the link in the description if you want to check it out.
For the sides of the box, we chose quarter sawn white oak. This is a hardwood and it has some really nice straight grain, which is going to look great. After measuring roughly what we needed and cutting it to size, we went to the bandsaw to trim out the middle section, which had the straightest grain. Next, we take it to the joiner to make the face and the edge perfectly flat and straight, and then we're going to resaw it into 2 pieces back on the bandsaw. The second piece gets rejointed, and then they both go through the planer to get to final thickness. Then, they get ripped to final width. One really neat detail on this project is that the wood grain is going to wrap all the way around the outside of the box. To do this, we put the boards end to end like so, and then we turn them this way, and we're going to grab a short and a long from opposite ends of the board. The idea is that we cleverly align these pieces so that when you put them all together again, the grain is going to be continuous all the way. This technique is detailed in that book I mentioned. I definitely recommend checking it out. The best part is, once you figure it out, it's actually really easy.
Just like on our dice tower project, we're going to use miter joints to hold this box together, but this time we're not going to add splines for that extra strength because we're targeting simplicity in the design. Basically, in this case, we're trading the extra strength of the splines for that clean, uninterrupted look of that grain wrapping all the way around the box.
If you want miter joints to look good, you have to be accurate. There's really no way around it. There's different jigs and sleds and things like that you can make to increase your accuracy with cutting miters, but really it comes down to patience and really just taking your time to set things up properly. The only other joinery in this box is we're going to use the router table to route a 1/8 inch deep rabbet along the top and bottom of each piece. These are exactly the same depth on both sides because we wanted to simplify the build process, but also we're targeting symmetry for the top and bottom. We still have a ways to go before the glue up, but we wanted to do a dry fit so we could start fitting the top and the bottom of the box. This is done by aligning the pieces on a straight edge and then using blue tape to hold it together.
For the top and bottom of the box, we wanted to choose a wood that was in the same tonal family as the white oak sides, but gave us enough contrast to stand out. And so we ended up with teak.
The top piece we chose has this big defect in it, which we thought was perfect to offset the otherwise perfectly symmetrical design. After milling up the 2 boards, we started on the top, cross-cut one end, and then took it to the shooting board to true it up. This gives us a perfectly square end, but it also looks really nice. We put it in the top, and then we marked where we needed to cut off. We trimmed off the end, and then brought it to the vise and used a hand plane to dial in the width. With 3 out of 4 sides fitting, the last thing was to take it back to the shooting board and trim off that end until it fit perfectly. After that, we repeated the exact same process for the bottom of the box.
Now that top piece is fitting really well, we're going to use the X-Carve CNC machine from Inventables to cut a little dish in the top, which is going to make it easier to grab the pull. You don't need to use a CNC machine to do this, but this makes it really easy.
Once we secured our workpiece down to the wasteboard, we then hooked up our brand new dust boot, which is amazing by the way, and then let the X-Carve do its thing. If you want to learn more about this machine, there's a link in the description.
Now, conventional woodworking wisdom says that the way I'm gluing the top and bottom of this box in is a bad idea because when this expands with the humidity, which wood does, it's just going to blow the box apart. I haven't left any room for expansion. However, I have a theory. This has been in the shop now for about a week and it hasn't stopped raining in several weeks. It's about 98% humidity in here, so I'm pretty sure this is as big as this board's ever going to get. Now, I've planed it down to fit perfectly, so I think it shouldn't get any bigger and thus it shouldn't break my box. I'll report back in a year and tell you what happened.
On the inside of the box, there's going to be a removable divider that will help to hold the wine bottle in place. To hold the divider in place, we're going to use what's called a dado, which is a groove cut across the grain of the wood. In this case, we're using the table saw to cut these. The table saw is a really quick way to cut these, but it can leave an uneven surface, so here we're using a router plane to make sure the bottom is perfectly flat and even. Before the glue up, we did some basic sanding on the inside with a sanding block and some 320 grit sandpaper. We used a small craft brush to apply the glue to the miter joints, and we make sure to get every last bit of surface area. When the glue squeezes out from putting the joint together, we're going to use the plastic straw technique to slide it across the inside corner and get the rest of that glue out. This process gets repeated for all 4 joints, of course, and then we're going to use blue painter's tape to hold these joints tightly together. A quick check for square, looking good, and the final pieces of tape go on. With everything tightly together, we'll use the straw one more time to get any more of the squeeze out, and then we're going to take the top and the bottom of the box and we're going to loosely put them in just to keep it square while the glue is drying.
One of our favorite small details on this Winebox project is we're going to use a piece of fabric on the inside bottom of the box. This is something that's also detailed in that book. I think it's a really cool technique. What we really love about this technique is that it opens up a whole world of creative possibilities for you to add contrast to your work. There's a million different types of fabric, and you can choose one that works really well with your piece.
We posted all these fabrics on our Instagram and asked for feedback, and ultimately you guys chose this one. We agree. We'd never done this before, so we were kind of making it up as we went along, but we rough cut a piece of fabric and then used an iron to make sure it was nice and flat, and then used a spray adhesive to spray it onto the piece of wood and then carefully align the fabric. The way this stuff works is that you spray it onto the surface and you wait a few minutes for it to start to get tacky. From there you apply the second surface and it will stick, but you have to be careful because as soon as it's on there, it's pretty much stuck. We took our time and made sure to align it nice and straight so that the arrows align with the wood. I think we waited about 15 minutes and it seemed pretty good, so from there we trimmed off the excess using a utility knife. Not that we expected it to be hard, but it's still nice when something you've never done before works the first time. By this time the glue was dry, so we carefully removed the tape and gave it a look.
Well, the good news is this glue up went perfectly. I'm super happy with how this came out so far. The bad news is I forgot to check the length of this little divider piece before I set the depth of these dados, and now this piece is too short and doesn't fit. So we have to make a new one.
We decided before continuing with the divider that we should glue the bottom of the box in. We were worried that if we weren't careful, the glue was going to squeeze out and ruin the fabric, so we applied it very, very carefully, and this was ridiculous. If you have a better idea on how we could have applied this glue and not gotten squeeze out everywhere, I'm definitely interested to hear it. Now that the bottom was on, we trued up the ends of the divider and trimmed it until it fit perfectly. With that fitting well, we went to trim the top, so we took most of it off at the bandsaw because it's quick, and then with the hand plane, we dialed it in so that it perfectly fit. Next we took it out and then used a wine bottle to mark the exact position of the top. Quick trip back over to the X-Carve is going to give us a really clean hole. Quick swipes with some sandpaper help get any burrs off the edges, and then we give it a test fit. Wine bottle slides in like this, and perfect fit.
Really happy with how this is turning out so far. So now we're going to do some surface prep and then finish our parts.
The handle for the lid is a small rectangular piece of oak. This one was pretty simple to prep. We just hit it a few times with the smoothing plane. The lid of the box had some weird twisty grain which would make it hard to hand plane, so we sanded it to 320 grit. However, we did use a hand plane to break the edges and give it a chamfer. We stuck a towel in there to keep sawdust off the fabric. And then we sanded the rest of the box to 320 grit as well. Then we burnished the surface with some hand plane shavings to give it a nice luster. To finish the box, we're using shellac and applying it with a foam brush. Shellac is a nice finish to work with because it dries quickly and we were able to get 3 coats on in a matter of hours. The divider insert and handle got 3 coats of shellac as well. We taped off the fabric with blue painter's tape before finishing out the inside of the box. After 3 coats, we had a nice glossy finish. But we're not a fan of high gloss finishes, so we used some 4/0 steel wool to take down the sheen. To do that, we take a fresh piece of steel wool and lightly rub it across the surface until we get the sheen we like. Once you get it looking good, just take a clean rag and wipe it down. Before we do the final polish on the box, we're going to attach the handle using the hidden nail technique. This gives you the added strength of having a nail in there without leaving any exposed hardware. 2 nails get hammered halfway into the handle and then the heads get snipped off. On the lid, we make 2 small corresponding holes and test to make sure everything lines up properly. From there, we make those holes as deep as we can without them poking through the bottom. We attach the handle and lightly trace the outline. Wood glue doesn't stick to shellac very well, so we use something sharp to scrape it away before carefully gluing on the handle. Our first wine box will always hold a special place in our hearts because it was part of our wedding ceremony. But 5 years from now, when we open this wine box, we'll be able to look back and remember how awesome it was building it together.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed our video, hit that like button and then leave us a comment and let us know what type of project you want us to do next. And be sure to subscribe to the Wicked Makers channel. We have a lot of projects coming up that I hope you'll love, and then check out our other videos too. Until next time, stay wicked. Now we're gonna do finish prep and then strip the... Did you notice the wine box is the first project with no skull on it? Fun fact.